Hey guys, so in today's video, we're going to be reviewing the enchants. Since I saw that some of you guys were interested in this custom enchants plugin thingy, I was going to go through some of the custom enchants and show the mechanics. So basically, you go through /E, you could tinker them. Basically, if you get a really bad book, you put them in here and they turn into these thingies, which I can do. And actually first, so you basically get one of these based on your XP amount. My XP is 500, so as you can see, so if I go /E, so I'm going to show you an example with the simple enchant thing. So what you do is you open the book, and I got a really trash book. So let's say it's something that you don't need, really bad percent, or a really bad tier. You go here and you click that twice using /tinker, and you click this. And you can get as many as you want. You have to get like books to fill this up, and then you have to close it. You have to accept it twice, and then you can fill it again with books that you don't need. That's how I get these dusts here and here. We got the enchants where you get XP based on the amount you have. And I'll tell you how much you have on here, but if you don't look on there, I use this command called XP. And then we have the alchemist, which you could go through here, or you could go sorry, I haven't done this command before. You could do /alchemy or alchemist, and you could basically put in two books that are same tier, different percents. You could combine them. If it's max tier, I suggest not doing that, but you could put these in here and they'll combine. Now I'm going to open up these heroics, and I'm going to go through my top 100 favorite books that I like to and review it for the 100 subscriber video. So right now I'm just going to open these. And I grinded all of these, so let's see what I get. Reinforced tank, that's good. Okay. Here's an example of it. So I used 10 and I only got 3, but doing the math, that is 24%, which if I just do this, reinforced tank 4 is 99%. Recently, in my last video, I actually maxed out my oh wait, I don't think I went over that, but I completely maxed out my armor. So basically what happened was, I finally found somebody that had a black scroll, and they also sold me spirit, and they also sold me Guardian, which is, if I go get my chest plate. Also, quick shout out to Monkey Tank. He just freaking bought a squid spawner that I had for a very long time, which people were giving me offers of 50 to 60k, which is what it is, but he offered 500k, which is a lot because it carries my balance now. Now, if I do the command /enchants, you could go through all of these, and I'll go through every single one that I suggest you get. So, the first one, this depends on your opinion. So the first one that I sometimes suggest is Shuffle, which I use on Troll Armor, which allows you to shuffle a opponent's hotbar. Confusion is a chance to give them nausea, which is sometimes good in PvP if you want to make sure your enemy hits you less. You get Ethereal, which allows you to gain haste upon killing mobs, which don't get this confused with Ethereal Dodge, which is a heroic that gives you boosted stats, like super cracked. Experience 5, I suggest is chance to get experience from mining. It's basically just boosting your XP. The haste basically allows you to swing your tools faster. It's a little bit obvious. Summona is basically confusion, but a higher tier, and for your sword instead of your axe. Thunderblow is basically just lightning from your sword, which I suggest for a grinder sword for getting XP. Glowing if you don't have something data pack or a mod like Optifine or the Bat Pet on here. Decapitation and Headless are basically just victims having a chance to drop their head on death if you kill them. But Decap is for the axe and Headless is for the sword. And then we got Obliterate, which is for trolling. It's basically knockback 5. Epicness, which is just if you like cosmetics. And that's it for the simples. Now we're going to be moving on to uniques. There's not many that I like, but we'll go through them. So, first one is probably Feymine, which you could use for trolling, which gives them hunger effect. Berserker, also known as Burrs for some people, gives you a chance of strength and mining fatigue, which if you don't want drunk 4 on your helmet, but you do want strength and I guess strength in general, suggest using this. I don't use it as a slot on my axe. It's your opinion. Ward, which is a chance to absorb enemy damage and heal you. It's really cracked, except for I don't have enough space to put down my item unless I get slots. Curse, which is slowness, but resistance at low HP. Basically just makes you like a tank when low on HP. Ender Shift is basically just Ender Walker or Ethereal Dodge. I call it Enderwalker because it applies to the boots. Oh, it applies to the helmet? I never knew that. It gives speed and health at low HP. Featherweight, which is a chance to give a burst of haste when attacking something. Basically, like another version of the Ethereal enchant. Molten, which is for troll armor. It's basically a fire aspect, but on your armor. Ravenous, which I do not think you could. I do not suggest this, but it basically regains your hunger, which you could just get implants and alien implants to fix that problem. Or you could just get yourself food, which I have both. Sustain is regaining hunger, basically famine, but for armor instead. Oh no, Ravenous, which is on axes instead of armor. And then we move on to the elites, or the elites. That's how I call them, but they're really called elites. So first we have anti-gravity, which is basically jump boost 5. I suggest that because when jumping around, it's a great combat tactic. Ender Slayer, which allows you to deal damage to end mobs besides shulkers. I suggest Reaper for trollers. Basically gives Wither, Blindness, while dealing damage for axes. Nether Slayer, which is basically the Nether version of the Ender Slayer. It's for weapons. It's not just the sword, but the axe. I prefer it on a sword. We got Blind, which is good for trolling people because it causes blindness when attacking. Cactus is really good because it's Thorns 2, and there's a heroic version of this which makes it Thorns 4. It does not affect your durability of your armor, which is really nice. Execute, which is damage buff when your target is low at HP. Frozen is for trollers, which is basically freezing your armor. Freezing the person's armor. Paralyze, which is slowness and slow swinging. Gives lightning. I do not suggest this for sword because you just got Thunderblow. Poison, which gives poison, but you can apply it to weapons. Poisoned is basically the same thing, but instead of weapons, you apply it to armor. Reforged is your tool's durability. The item will take longer to break. Like, this thing always heals itself non-stop. You got, by the way, you might notice that I don't go for bows because I don't really touch bows. If you want all the bow enchants, I could do a video on that. So next we got Springs, which is basically, I don't suggest this. This only gives jump boost 3, unlike anti-gravity, which gives jump boost 5. We got Storm Caller, which is basically just a waste of a enchant when you have Thunderblow. This is basically for trollers with swords. Basically increases durability loss on enemy, which you'll see a lot of those later. Next we have Trap 3, which gives slowness, which is for trollers. Undead Roots. I suggest this to anybody who does combat. This is a chance to spawn zombie hordes. Meanwhile, it spawns around 5 to 10 zombies. Max level is 10. Venom, which is basically a bow version of poison. Hoodoo, which is gives a chance to deal weakness. Wither, which gives a wither effect, which is for trollers along with Voodoo. Smoke bomb. When you are near death, you spawn a smoke bomb to destroy your enemy. Basically what it does is, I think it just gives any nearby players blindness. Infernal, which is basically fire aspect on a bow. Pummel, which is slowness to an enemy. Shockwave, which is a chance to push back your attacker when you're low. For trollers, mainly. Vampire, which is basically stealing HP. Great Sword, which is basically deals damage. You apply this to a sword and it does more damage towards people who use bows. Harden, which is chance to recover durability when damaged. This is basically like a second unbreaking book on armor, but there's a rough version, so it's basically like soul. It's basically just unbreaking 6 plus unbreaking 3 on your armor already. Rocket Escape, I do not like this one. Basically blasts you off. It's basically like Shockwave, except for it makes you go up in the air. Like up instead, just away. And there's a heroic version of this. You got Trickster, which is a chance to teleport behind your enemies and then hit them behind their back. This is really useful. I do not suggest it unless it's against a person with a freaking shield. That's it for the elites. We're going to be moving on to the ultimates. So, you have Jelly Legs, which is basically like you can't take any damage at tier 3. Timber, which is very good for people who chop down trees, because it allows you to one-tap trees sometimes. This is a troll enchant, which it distracts yourself from an enemy and gain regen. Basically, it like launches you, I think, or launches them. Reinforce, which is very nice, especially with people that have Trickster, because you take less damage from being hit from behind. Then you have Cleave 7, which I suggest you get this, and the Mighty Cleave 5 book, which is a heroic. Because this basically does damage in a radius, and it increases that radius and damage based on its level. Angelic, which heals you. None of these arrow stuff is good. Assassin's really bad. Unless you like going up to people. Blessed is a chance to remove debuffs from you. Corrupt is a chance to deal damage over time. Very useful. Block is a chance to block an attack and deal up to 4 damage back, which is basically just a reflection, which is actually a heroic version of this. You got Dodge, which is decent. You get to basically dodge the attack when crouching, usually. But It's really cracked once you get Ethereal Dodge. You got Guardians, which spawns in Iron Golems. This is really OP. And the Iron Golems actually do 1 to 2 hearts to very OP people. Like people that just maxed out their armor like me. Ice Aspect, which is slowness to your enemy, basically just freezing. Implants, which is really good for health and hunger. It restores your health and hunger, which there's a heroic version of this. Obsidian Shield, 100% get this. Gives you fire resistance, which makes fire aspect and all those fire enchants useless. Demonic 3, I do not suggest this, but if you really want to, you can do it for trolling. It basically is a chance to remove fire resistance from your enemies. Marksman is increased damage with bows. I don't use bows, so I do not suggest this. If you're a bows person, you should probably get that enchant also. And you should also get some books like Tank, Heavy, and Armored, which we'll be going through later. Next we have Disappear, which gives you invisibility when you're like on 1 heart. Disintegrate, which is another damage to armor enchant. Basically, it's for people who troll. Dominate is to weaken people when attacked, causing them to deal less damage. You got Arsonist, which is Fire Aspect 3. Enderwalker, which gets rid of poison and wither and heals you. This could get rid of so many problems because it doesn't remove the wither or poison, but the wither and poison actually heal you. You have Eagle Eye, which is basically dealing durability damage. This is the axe version of that. This is decreasing damage from bows by 2% per level, which there is a heroic version. Hellfire, which is disabled, and basically it's like Flame 1. It used to shoot fireballs, but most servers actually disabled fireballs. Longbow, which is allows you to deal damage to people that have bows in their hands with your bow. Tank, which basically is heavy but for axes. Unfocused, which is chances to make your it makes them reduce their damage, and I think it used to do this thing where it made you like blurry. That might have been another server. Valor, which is for people who use swords. I really suggest this because it basically buffs your... Oh, wait. It basically decreases damage while wielding a sword by 22%. So now we're on Pacify, which allows you to deal 1 to 4 damage, stopping their next attack on you. Chance to pacify your target. Metaphysical, so good at its heroic. Basically gets rid of slowness sometimes. Creeper Armor, which is disabled on most servers. Oh wait, no. I thought that spawned creepers. Sorry. It basically allows you to be immune to explosive damage, which gives rid of the bow. enchants explosive 5 and carrier 8, and the heroic version of that, you got spirits, which is spawns and blazes and heals yourself. And then you got bleed. One of the best enchants for axes just in general. I suggest not getting deep bleed. It just gives slowness, but devour then is useless. I don't know why I did it. It basically does a lot of damage, and it basically does like heart damage to hearts, and it stacks, and it decreases their speed, movement, and speed just in general. Next, we'll be going on to legendaries, and then finally heroics, which for some reason on here are fabled. But when you do enchant, it's heroic. So, our first one is Judgment, which heals you but damages the enemy. Surprise, which is basically just another version of Trickster. Stun, which is for trolling to slow the enemy down. Unholy, which is to give weakness and wither to your attacker. Fat is really good. It's basically like it gives absorption, and it basically is like 2 god apples, and it also gives you, well, in HP wise, and it also gives you resistance, which is really good. We got Hex, which can also be a heroic, which basically reflects damage onto your enemy who after hits you. You got Barbarian, which allows you to do more damage with axes. Clarity, which gives you cure blindness when attacked. And Deathbringer, which is a chance to deal double damage. There's a heroic. Double Strike, which allows you to strike twice. For some reason, this does not work on mobs, but it does work on players. Next, we have Drunk, which is basically Berserker, but instead of on your axe, it's on your helmet. And you basically gain, you get this effect as soon as you put on the helmet, instead of just having a random chance to get it. And Enlighten, which can heal while taking damage. Gears, which gives speed. Inquisitive, which increases XP drops from mobs. Inversion, which you could block and heal you 1 to 5 HP. Lifesteal, which is steal health while attacking, basically vampire. Overload, which gives the permanent hearts. There's a hero version of this. Rage, which for some reason I didn't get, which for every combo hit you win, you do 0.5 hearts per combo. You could do 5 max combo hits, which is basically just 10. Silence, which stops the activation of your enemy's custom enchants, which this one is OP for people with swords. I wish it was for axes. At the same time, it's just too OP. Armored, which basically is tank, but it's a level better in rank-wise, but it decreases sword damage. Then you got Exterminator, which disables all mob spawning, which gets rid of Undead Ruse, Guardians, which is spelt wrong, and Spirits. Blacksmith, which is dealing damage to armor, and your attacks will only deal 50% of the normal damage. I don't suggest this. there is a heroic version, which I don't know why you even get it, besides trolling. A bidding, which I don't think I've ever really seen that much. It basically makes your tools unbreakable. This is really good for a pickaxe because it gets rid of reforged. Devour, which chance to multiply your damage dealt to players with the active bleeds. Basically just bleed 6, but it gets boosted. Diminish, which halves the total of the damage that a player basically does on you. There's a heroic version of this. Death God, which heals you when you're really low. Insanity, which there's a heroic version of this. Basically allows you to swing and do crap tons of damage to people who wield swords. You got Sniper, which has a heroic version, which basically headshots will deal lots of damage. Destruction, which I really say you should get because it basically does damage people. Now we're going to be moving on to heroic section. Okay, well, for some reason that doesn't work, so I'm going to go through some of my favorite heroics that I use, at least. I suggest people should use. So, there's some of these in my shop. So, you want to get Alien Implants, which is buff version of Implants. Divine Enlighten, which is buff version of Enlighten. Godly Overload, which is buffed version of that. Basically, there's like almost all of them, except for a few heroics, are basically just the buffed version, and you require, like, for instance, Reinforced Tank or Paladin Armored. That requires Armored 4 or Tank 4 to get those applied. And you got... So I'm going to just list all the ones I use. Alien Implants, Divine Enlighten, Godly Overload, Paladin Armored, Reinforced Tank, Ethereal Dodge, Soul Hardened, Vengeful Diminish, Planetary Deathbringer, Mighty Cactus, Mega Heavy, Polymorphic Metaphysical. And then for my axe, it's going to be Bewitched Hex, Deep Bleed, I don't know, based on your opinion, Insanity 8, again, and Mighty Cleave, which is basically Cleave. And then for sword, for XP, which this is the only one, is Master Inquisitive 4, which basically is like almost doubling your XP. And that's my review of all the enchants that I suggest you guys use. I hope you guys liked the video today. Make sure to subscribe. And that's it. Bye!